Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, the #1 sports information program in America, the Breakfast Bankroll, with your host, the sports broker, Jeff Dawson.
Good morning again, sports fan. It's still me, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your Monday, February 13th Breakfast Bankroll. Apologies, it's Monday. We're live here on Cape Cod, B2B's in Florida, but we're able to connect each other here via StreamYard. And fat fingers, I don't know what it is. We had a bazillion people in here 2 seconds ago. Come on back, guys, please. We were not live on Twitter, and we wanted to make sure that we were there. Talking, obviously, with B2B about the Super Bowl. That's where we're starting. Great game. Season's over, and now we really shift gears into conference championships, March Madness, PGA, the World Baseball Classic, spring training, pitchers and catchers. You name it, we got it. And we got one of the best in the biz that I like to call friend, the one and only Mr. B2B himself.
What's
there we
going
go,
on,
sir.
Jeff? We're good now?
We're good. Apologies. Like I said, we had a gazillion people in. If you retweeted that YouTube link the first time, you want to do it now. They all came flocking in. Unfortunately, for some reason, Twitter wasn't up and live, and I know a lot of your followers are on Twitter. So if you want to go about and get them on, you can do so.
Already done.
We're so glad to have you. How goes it, sir?
Everything's going great. Just happy football season's over. This probably was my least enjoyable season in years. The Super Bowl went well for us. We did pretty well. So happy to make some profit there. Disappointed with how the game finished with the referees ultimately deciding who the winner would be. But, it was a penalty, and, the player, he admitted it was a penalty. So, it is what it is. It's a crappy way to end the game, but it was the right call. The Chiefs fans, for the rest of history, the Chiefs fans can never complain of refereeing ever again. Never. Right? I mean, they got a lot of questionable calls went their way in the Bengals game, and then this game. Ultimately, the two biggest plays of the Chiefs seasons were by the officials. I mean, even though they were the right calls, penalties happen every play, but it still takes the official to call it. So their two biggest plays were by the officials. So, but you know what? The Chiefs, they deserve to win it how they played the second half. The Eagles defense, I tweeted early in the third quarter, the Eagles defensive line was getting manhandled. Couldn't get any pressure on Mahomes. Pacheco was doing whatever he wanted, averaging like 7-8 yards per carry. So, the Eagles, their defense, deserved to lose that game. They couldn't get any stops. I just think it's ridiculous when there was really barely any penalties the entire game. And then that happens on the last drive of the game. So I think it would have ruined like one of the greatest Super Bowl endings ever. I saw someone tweet that was the greatest Super Bowl they've ever seen. Like, I don't think it was even close, right? Like, we've seen a lot more, greater ones than that, but that's just recency bias from people. But look, the Chiefs deserve to win, and I think this just proves that, to win the Super Bowl in the NFL, you need an elite quarterback, right? Like, if your team doesn't have an elite quarterback, like, you're not going to play for a Super Bowl, right? So there's a lot of teams out there that don't have elite quarterbacks, right? So I think the days of the Trent Dilfers winning the Super Bowl, they're long gone. If you don't have a star quarterback now, you're not going to win. So, I think the next few years we're going to see the Chiefs, Bills, Bengals, right? I think it might be tough for the Eagles to get back there because this season basically went perfect for the Eagles, right? But now they got to spend some money to keep that team together. I don't know if they can. So we'll see what happens. But all in all, it was a solid game. I wasn't really impressed with the halftime show. I thought it was a little boring for a Super Bowl. But people gave me crap about that online. But all in all, it was a good game. The commercials were terrible. The Clueless commercial was a good commercial with Alicia Silverstone. But besides that, nothing really. So the Fox broadcast was a little weak, I thought, but I don't care. I'm happy the season's over, like I said, and I'm looking forward to March Madness, going to Vegas. Actually, I'm bringing Kiefer to Vegas, so Kiefer's coming out to Vegas, and his wife is coming out. I figured it'd be good if his wife came out and hung out with mine, so they would just leave us alone, during the daytime. So it's gonna be a fun trip. Can't wait to be out in Vegas and start, betting some basketball big, right? Gave out those 2 free play winners, the over and Pacheco to score a touchdown last Monday. So I hope that everybody jumped on that and ready to get moving, get ready for next year's Dolphins Super Bowl victory.
You hit a lot of good points there. We had a room full here in the studio in the viewing lounges, and I'm not as up to modern day music as back when I grew up. The one thing that I said about Rihanna and the halftime show is, compared to a lot of the other halftime shows, she did it so effortlessly. So you used the word boring. She just made it look like a walk in the park. And I saw a tweet or something on social media. It was a 12-song set, and it was just like bing, bang, 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 bang. And so I thought that about that. About the game itself, it was a battle of 2 halves. The first half, Philly owned the time of possession. They just death by 1,000 paper cuts, dink dunk, run when we need to. Very, very impressed with 3rd down and 4th down, their efficiency there. And then obviously at halftime, Mahomes, gets his ankle turned. So everyone, Circa lays, and shout out to Jeffrey Benson, Mr. Metcalf, and everyone. We talked about it. They opened up the Chiefs at 2.5 2 weeks ago. Their first 25 bets, 22 on the Eagles. It flips. I always say trust and respect the opening number. At halftime, Chiefs -3, -120. And they stuck to their guns. Second half, again, the Philly defense couldn't slow down or stop them. You're right. You don't want it to come down to a call. The guy admitted it was a hold. I was hoping they weren't going to call it. And then they even let Pacheco walk in. I think it was Pacheco, and he slid down, and so they kicked the field goal. But I'm like you. I am so glad NFL is over. It's done. Kaput. Now let's talk some March Madness. Let's talk some NHL. Let's talk some PGA. The stage is yours. Where do you want to go?
and I just want to say, like, the Rihanna performance was great, right? Like, she's a great performer. But for me, I think I'm like more of I think the Super Bowl should bring energy, right? Like, really like fast-paced energy. And she's kind of more like love song. I feel like it's more like love songs and stuff, So, but yeah, I mean, she had a great performance. You couldn't have paid me to stand on one of those things flying over the field, that's for sure. But it was a great performance. I don't know why the Super Bowl can never get anybody that's like a current, like, get somebody who has like a hit out at that time, right? Like, it's always someone who had past hits, right? But it was a good show. So anyways, on to the next. But yeah, we got NHL. We've got the PGA. We saw Scotty Scheffler, repeat at the Waste Management Open this weekend. Just hit clutch putt after putt after putt. Par saves, birdies. He was definitely on his game, but it was a little bit of it was a disappointing tournament because when they put the pre-tournament lines up for round one, we had, bogey-free round bets. We had to make an eagle bets, right? Like first round, we hit Rom plus 550 to make an eagle. And the wind was very bad, right? So I knew when the wind settled down, like this place is going to play like an eagle fest, bogey-free round fest. Unfortunately, the first round didn't finish until Friday. So they didn't put up those props for the second round. And then the second round didn't finish until Saturday. So I'm thinking like finally on Sunday we'll get some bogey free round props, some eagle props, and then they never put them up. So I was kind of disappointed on that. I thought, they really robbed us of, some nice paydays there, but it was an exciting tournament. The PGA really they should look at doing more tournaments like that, right? Because the Genesis this weekend, that's a good tournament also. But then they go to Palm Beach in 2 weeks for the Honda Classic, which I think it's one of the most boring tournaments on tour. It's such a dry crowd. It's like just so boring there. I think if they amped it up a little bit, like the Waste Management, it would be a lot more fun. But I think the PGA just really missing an opportunity to incorporate fun like that into basically like all of their tournaments. And I thought they should have ended the Waste Management on Saturday, Wednesday through Saturday. I don't know why you're going like right up to the Super Bowl. I mean, if there was a playoff, it would have basically ran over into the Super Bowl. So PGA needs to work on their marketing or, their scheduling, something like that. Because so far this year, we've seen rounds pushed into the next day, right? And how many times can you have that happen before you actually make a change? So, like I said, looking forward to that. NHL, college basketball is going good right now. I mean, we're seeing this thing's wide open, right? Purdue lost another game yesterday in Northwestern. I said Purdue didn't impress me much, right? Like the last few weeks, and nobody in the Big Ten impresses me at all, right? I mean, how many tournament teams do they have, right? Like Ohio State, terrible this year, but Michigan, not good. I mean, Indiana's good at home. They have about 2-3 good teams. That's about it. So I played a future on Kansas yesterday at 14-1 to win the national championship. Kansas came off their best performance at Oklahoma, just smoked the Sooners on Saturday. I think the Jayhawks are going to start rolling here, and I like their experience winning it last year. So, yeah, I played Kansas 14-1. But besides that, just looking forward to getting rolling with all the sports. Happy that football is in the rear view.
Let me go back to the PGA, the Waste Management, the loudest, craziest tournament you'll ever see. Reminds me of Happy Gilmore and what's going on out there. Ricky Fowler gets a hole-in-one yesterday, if anyone had a hole-in-one prop. The leaderboard there again, Scheffler, at points, Rahm, Xander, Jason Day, and you talk about the marketing, and now with the Live Tour that's going to be starting to, heat up as well. I love golf. I love watching PGA. Father brought me in way, way back to the Jack Nicklaus times, and then obviously the Tiger times. And now there's a lot of young guys. This year, you're going to have the Rory, flexing his muscles versus the Rahms. And Scotty, who last year had a run for ages early in the year. We're 2 months away from the Masters. Now, for you, I know you give out individual stuff week to week, and you put out free plays on your website. Do you look in advance, maybe as people start to round and form for like a future in the Masters or the U.S. Open or anything that you can get your hands on? Or is your approach more just week to week, B2B?
Yeah, I'm more week to week because you can see guys get injured and stuff like that. And if a guy like has a good golf week, like say Tom Kim, right? Like if Tom Kim does well, like leading up to the Masters, he's gonna have short odds. So, if you want to play those kind of bets, it's like best to do it 6 months out, right? Not like right up into it, but it's so hard to hit those outrights. I mean, I'm not playing too many of them, to be honest, that far in advance, especially with injuries and stuff like that. We've seen a lot of guys, pulling out, withdrawing, and for me, it's just not worth it to risk, betting things so early. These days, I know a lot of people would like to bet Masters odds, 6 months in advance, stuff like that, but I've just never really been one big into that. It's at the time of, the value of waiting, for your money, unless it's a significant change in the odds. I mean, it's really not going to make much difference when you factor in how much time, additionally you're going to wait, on that. So, I'm not really a big betting like that far in advance kind of guy. So, will I start looking at the Masters like in March? Yeah, probably, but not like, not in February, stuff like that, because there's so much that can change in 2 months, right? I mean, you could bet, one of these guys could defect to live. You just never know what's going to happen these days. So, especially in the post-COVID era, I'm just never really quick to pull the trigger that far in advance. So,
If you talked about in college, we'll transition there. I can't remember a year that it's so wide open. I'm not drinking the Purdue Kool-Aid. I too, not. I'm not saying I'm not impressed in the Big Ten. I just don't think there's a team that can go 8-0 in March. I don't. Can they get to the 16 Elite Eight? Yeah, I think they can. Can they get to the Final Four? Maybe. Indiana looked like they were rolling into form. Izzo's Armies and Michigan State can't throw it in the ocean if they were in a boat for the most part. Then I go out west. I wasn't drinking the Arizona Kool-Aid. I UCLA out there. The 10-1's a little short for me right now. I was backing up. I think St. Mary's is sneaky now. Can they cut the nets down? No, but at 35-1, they're interesting. I rolled my eyes to the Big 12. You talked about Kansas defending champs. Baylor's rounding into form there. I think Texas, even without Chris Beard, has gotten past that. They're a dangerous opponent. I'm a Big East guy. The preseason favorite, Creighton, looks like they're rounding into form. They took care of my Huskies on Saturday. The ACC is down. I like your Miami team. Talk about the ACC, Miami, and what's going on there with the Dukies and North Carolina, etc.
Yeah, I mean, the Hurricanes, they look solid. The Hurricanes can score points, so they can pretty much play with anybody. They whooped Duke last week. They beat Louisville on the weekend. So, the Hurricanes, they look very good. And, when you play in the ACC, you're going to get tested, right? You get tested weekly. So I think that helps ACC teams a lot. Duke has not really looked great. I mean, Coach K is gone, and I just don't see Duke with like the star player that they've had in the past that can pretty much carry their team. I don't really think Duke, is going to go very far. North Carolina, they've been injured a lot, so obviously, with all those returnees they have the potential to go far. But can they? Remember last year, North Carolina in the regular season, they looked terrible, pretty much. Then they rounded into form in the ACC championship. I mean, the ACC tournament. Then they played well every game in the NCAA tournament. So I think North Carolina, as long as they just get in, they can be pretty dangerous. But Duke, not really a fan of. Virginia looks good, but Virginia's kind of back to the old way they used to play, where they would struggle to score points. They do play that lockdown D, but they struggle to score points. So I've not been impressed with like you said, Arizona. It's a bad loss to Stanford, right? A Stanford team that's not very good. And when I saw that line was so short, it was kind of like weird. And I figured Arizona, this line should be much higher than this. So I figured Arizona was in trouble. But I said like last week, I wasn't impressed with Tennessee, right? Like Rick Barnes. I think we're seeing Tennessee get worse by the game, right? They've lost 2 in a row now. They're losing to some garbage pail teams, and It's almost like it's March soon, and Rick Barnes he knows like what time it is. It's time to lose, right? So I don't think any of these teams that struggle on offense, like a Tennessee or a Virginia, like they have a chance to win it. I mean, so like I said last week, I like UCLA, and I bet Kansas at 14-1 this past weekend to win the championship. I think when you go look at the teams, and I think Kansas has pretty much the best shot of anybody, to win it. Can Alabama win it? Alabama's very good also, but can they be consistent? We've seen them struggle with consistency, and like you said, St. Mary's, they're playing some good ball. I had St. Mary's team total over for 2 units on Saturday. That won pretty easily. But the thing about St. Mary's is the same thing that happened to Gonzaga. They don't get tested really much during the season. They're playing the Portlands, right? The Pepperdines. They're playing the San Franciscos of the country, and they don't get tested by these big teams that are playing nightly tough games in the ACC, the Big Ten, the Big 12, stuff like that. So St. Mary's, like, could they win it all? I think if there's a year for like a team like St. Mary's to win it all, it's this year, because we just see across the board there's no really dominant team. So, I mean, I think you could probably go 15, 17 teams that could win it all this year, right? If we just look at the top 20, I think there's a bunch of teams that could win it all, but I don't think like a Marquette could win it all, or a Gonzaga, no shot. Indiana, no shot, right? So, like you said, Creighton, they're rounding into form. They've won 8 in a row now. So they've got all those bad losses out of their system. And Creighton, they can light up the scoreboard, or they can play very good defense. So I think Creighton will be they'll be right there, I think, in March. But I think this thing is wide open. I mean, we can see 20 different teams that could win it. It's just all about March, and I think March is all about experience. Do you have the experience to win those close games and stuff like that? And we've seen Alabama do that, right? We've seen Kansas, play tough games and win it at the end. So I like teams that have that winning pedigree, that winning experience. I don't trust teams that don't, like Tennessee and Purdue and stuff. They got to really show me before I back them. And I think Purdue is like too dependent on Edey to basically do everything for them. Like I said, there's really no huge favorite going into March Madness, but at 14-1, I like Kansas. So I played that this past weekend.
Right here, your Panthers. I said on the intro, NHL, are the Panthers back? Great game tonight at Minnesota. There's a 5-game slate here. Give us your thoughts. Give us your Panthers report for the week. Scoring a lot of goals. They look like they're back. Good game tonight in Minnesota.
Yeah, I think we won 3 or 4 in a row. We beat the Lightning, we beat the Bruins, and then we beat what was the game I went to the other night? We won 4-1 against the Sharks. I mean, so we beat some good teams. The Lightning and the Bruins back to back. I mean, those are 2 great wins. And then the Avalanche came to town. The Avalanche had lost a few in a row, so for some reason, the Avalanche is the toughest matchup for the Panthers, right? The Avalanche, when they're healthy, they're the best team in the NHL, right? And I think they were healthy against the Panthers this past weekend. And it was a tie game into the third period. So we just couldn't get it done, but the Panthers are definitely playing better. So they're just going to have to keep it up to make the playoffs. I think the NHL is, wide open. Like I said, in the West, obviously, I have to go with the Avalanche to repeat in the West. I like the Kraken, but I've seen they've kind of fallen off a little bit lately. They're kind of on a goal scoring drought. Vegas is playing better, but yeah, I think the West is basically the Avalanches to lose and come back to the East. I think the East is wide open now, right? The Bruins started out hotter than anybody, best team in the NHL, but we've seen them kind of fall up a little bit, slip up a little bit. Can they keep it together for a run in the playoffs? We've still got like 30 games to go, so there's plenty of time. I think the East is wide open. The Rangers are playing better. I had the Rangers plus 185, I think, money line against the Hurricanes on Saturday. We had that one come through like a 6-2 win. So the Rangers are playing better. The Lightning are hot, like I said. And the playoffs just comes down to experience, similar to college basketball, right? Some teams know how to win. And then there's some teams that know how to win in the regular season, like the Toronto Maple Leafs, that just can't do it in the playoffs. So it's going to be an interesting finish to the season. And I think the East playoffs will be, as competitive as ever. And I think the champion will probably come out of the East this year. But, the Avalanche, they're just hanging around. I think they're just waiting really to get healthy for the playoffs. I don't think the Dallas Stars will best team in the West, but I don't really see them as a threat to the Avalanche, to be honest. I think playoff hockey is a different story. So I'm just looking forward to this last month or so of games and see what team can get hot and take it into the playoffs.
You were 2-0 last week on free plays. We know you have free plays, that you've been on an amazing roll on your website. Before we wrap up here today, is there anything? It's real early. It's only 10:30 in the a.m. College hoops, NHL, anything that you could throw a little nugget out to? We've had a bazillion people watching this morning, Rob.
Yeah. I've only looked at like a couple of games for tonight so far, but I was looking at the Calgary, the Flames team total over 3.5. Calgary is coming off of a win at Buffalo, where we had the Calgary team total over 3.5 on Saturday. They scored 4 goals in like 4 minutes against the Sabres to hit that. So that was pretty nice. So I'd probably go with like the Calgary team total over 3.5 tonight. I'm not sure what the odds are, but I can pull it up right now. But yeah, like you said, it's early, and we've got a long way to go. So as far as tonight, that's pretty much the only thing I've looked at.
As we close up, always here, BDB, tell everyone where to go. I know the crawl has been going the whole time at Beating the Bookie on Twitter. Go follow. I mean, your followers are amazing. Anyone that's not following me at EC Sports Invest, feel free to follow me. I will follow you back. I'll answer any questions that you have about us as well. But tell them where to go to get all your information, sir.
Yeah, well, you can pick up the Calgary Flames team total over 3.5. That's like minus 105 on FanDuel. So you could pick that up, or it's minus 115 on DraftKings, and that's including overtime. So I'd probably go with that option right there. But all my stuff is on beatingthebookie.com, just like you see right here. Our free plays have been on a good run. Gave out a free play Saturday on UCLA team total for 2 units, and that hit as UCLA blasted Oregon in the second half. And yesterday we gave out a free play for the Super Bowl on 3rd down conversion to be over 12.5 yards. So we hit that on the Hurts to Goddard 3rd down conversion that got reviewed. Actually, I was just praying that they upheld the completion. Actually, everyone was telling me, I said it's a winner, and everyone was like, that's incomplete. And I said, this is a terrible challenge for Andy Reid. This is a big mistake. And everyone was like, it's incomplete. And to me, it looked like it was complete. I could see two feet down, even the second bobble, 2 feet down. I don't know. everyone was telling me I was an idiot, and then they upheld it, so I felt kind of vindicated there. But free plays have been on a great run, and if I had to play one right now, I would give it to Calgary Flames over 3.5 minus 115 on DraftKings. But besides that, everything else is on the site. I haven't decided whether I'll do golf this weekend or not. Sometimes I like to take a week off and just refresh. So, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'm looking forward to a big week of college basketball.
We are too. We are too. Keep us on speed dial. If you are doing some golf, maybe we can circle the wagons back on Thursday as they're teeing off so you can get some of your free tidbits out to everyone. Otherwise, want to thank everyone. It's been a bright and early morning here back on Cape Cod, and I assume the same with you in Florida. Great show as always. Keep an eye out on us at EC Sports Invest for shows throughout the day and throughout the week. And obviously go follow BDB at Beating the Bookie. So I want to thank everyone here this morning. It's been a great show. It's that time of year where the college hoops get fun, the conference championships, the March Madness, the warmer the weather, the hotter the stakes are on the PGA and the Live, which we'll be talking a lot about. And before you know it, World Baseball Classic, spring training, and MLB first pitch. So everyone have a great day. Enjoy yourselves, and we will see you soon.
See ya.